because the management and transparency is what's very important. So once you submit a referral, you're going to have your own Home Advantage account, and it's going to tell you where everything sits. So if you have 10 referrals that you've sent into the network, it's going to give you all 10 referrals. It's going to tell you every milestone that that client is sitting in, whether they're touring homes, whether they're in escrow. And you now can manage through the Home Advantage application as far as what your pipeline looks like for the referrals that you've sent. And so it's pretty sophisticated, and it's all click of a button, guys.
LabCoatAgents podcast.
We are back for a second episode with Chris Heller. If you're here, if you're listening to this, you probably listened to the first episode. If you didn't, stop what you're doing, press pause, go find the first one, which probably just preceded this one, and listen to that one first, because that one is the perfect setup for what we're going to do today. And part of the reason why we're doing a number two is because I didn't get a chance to ask him a lot of things that I wanted to ask him, or we didn't get a chance to continue to talk deeper about some of the topics we talked about. And before I get started, Chris, I have to down this Magic Mind energy drink. It's because I know how bad my brain hurt from the first time we talked. I know I'm going to need an extra jolt of energy. And I share this because this company is so kind. Obviously, to first of all send us this. I loved it so much, I have continued to buy it. Unlike most energy drinks that either don't work or make me feel jittery, this one actually does the trick, kind of sharpens my mind. And the cool thing about it is you drink it in complementary with your coffee. Most energy drinks are I think this works actually better with my coffee. So you'll see me drinking both. I'm not about ready to go run a marathon. I just need to keep my mind sharp for you, my friend. So if you're listening, if you've never tried this Magic Mind, I highly encourage you to do so. It's just a little shot, like a 5-hour energy, but way, way, way better and tastes good too. So, Chris, I hope you've had your energy this morning.
I love the name of that stuff. Anything with that, the name alone would cause me to buy it.
Yeah, Magic Mind. And you know what's cool about it, and I'm not a scientist of any stretch of the imagination, but it's matcha, adaptogens, nootropics, and immunity. And I'm not a scientist about any of this kind of stuff. I'm just a scientist of what works. And this stuff never has worked for me, and I love this stuff. So,
Very cool.
Here we go. All right, my friend. So before we get into the topics of where we left off, and I'm just going to go ahead and tease that for the audience listening, we are going to be going deeper on lead gen strategies, kind of the evolution of where Chris sees them going. He is a master on lead gen. Handwritten notes, we all know that it's kind of the OG of what helped make you who you are and were in the real estate industry. I want to talk more about Ojo and what Ojo can do for real estate agents. And then if we have time, I want to talk about your opinion on social media, because of course it's a very big passion of mine. However, you mentioned off air that you just got back from Inman recently, and there's a lot of industry chatter and things we're talking about. And obviously there's a lot of fear, I think, a lot of unknown in our industry right now. So I'd love to get your take, man. What were your takeaways? What was being talked about? Please share.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of my time with owners of companies, investors, executives, and there's a lot. There's going to be a lot of movement. There's going to be a lot of, I think, mergers and acquisitions. In the fourth quarter, the first quarter of next year, there's just a lot of companies that are in a place where they need to do something. So that's going to be, and as always, that's always interesting, because every time something moves, it creates new opportunities and new things that are there that weren't there before. A lot of the talk was about the lawsuit, and I had several at a couple of owners of companies and brokers and a couple technology companies, say, hey, can we meet today, or can we meet tomorrow? I want to talk about these lawsuits, and what do you think is going to happen? And look, at the general consensus is, and and here's my disclaimer: no one knows, right? None of us are that involved, and even the people that are that involved don't know the outcome. But the general consensus is that there's a very good chance that these lawsuits are going to prevail, and no one knows when, and no one knows to what degree. If we have a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being worst case scenario, where no longer is there cooperation of commissions, no longer is there's a decoupling of commissions, that sellers no longer able to pay buyers commissions, all those things, your imagination can really run wild with what all the possible outcomes. Here's what I said to those companies, is that trying to predict what's going to happen is a waste of energy. If it looks like there's a good chance things are going to happen that way, you don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know to what degree it's going to happen. You don't know how, if these suits are going to be settled, what the settlements may look like. But if I'm running a company, I'm going to plan for a worst case scenario. I'm going to hope for the best, but I'm plan for the worst. So if you plan for the worst and that doesn't happen, you're good. You've already have all the contingency plans for something even worse than that happening. So what does that mean? So one of the owners of a very successful real estate company, I said, that means that your agents have to be as good at a buyer presentation as they would a listing presentation. They have to be able to demonstrate value to a buyer at the same level that they do a seller. That means all your marketing materials need to be rethought. And what is that value proposition? And why do I, as a buyer, why am I going to be compelled to say, yes, I'll sign this agreement, and yes, I'll pay you if you do all these things for me? Those things that you're going to do for me better be high value. And so, well, what could some of those things be? Hey, it could be a plan for how you're going to find and present me properties that aren't on the market. It could be a plan for how you're going to provide a concierge service for not just getting me the property, but all the things you're going to do to help me move into the property. And after I own the property, like, there has to be high value. And that begins with training your agents, and then providing the materials and providing the assets, and then having a real plan of something of value. So anyways, we could talk about that for a long time, but those were some of the conversations that were happening at the conference.
I love that. And now you're going to shift where we go with this, because I have to comment on that, which is, you might have saw me smile when you said that, because I love to hear that, because I agree. And that also where the world is going, and how consumers now do their homework. Real estate agents are less necessary on the very front end, because we have these little Alexas, and we have Chat GPTs, and we have Googles, and we have all this data at our disposal. And so, to me, although what you said is also very accurate, a lot of the decision for who a consumer chooses as a real estate agent is going to happen parasocially. It's going to happen because they build a relationship with you through your content, through your authenticity, through all of the things that you convey through, mediums like social media. And their decision is going to be made without ever meeting you or knowing you. And I don't know, what is your take on kind of that whole mindset or thought process?
I think that has and will continue to become more and more prevalent, more and more important, and more the way things are done. I also believe that there's an offline world too, and things happen in that offline world, but we shouldn't view them as two separate things or two unrelated things. They're very related. And the more that you can integrate those, I think the more opportunities you can create for yourself. The speed at which technology is being adopted and the speed at which is being developed is happening so fast that most people can't even see it. And that's just going to get faster, right? It's just like we are just in entering a new age that is going to create a lot of different behaviors and a lot of different habits. It's always been incumbent upon agents and service professionals to understand consumer behavior and consumer expectations, right? Behavior shapes expectations. Expectations also then shapes behavior. And as service providers, agents need to be able to not only understand that, but be able to meet and or exceed those expectations. And if they don't, they go somewhere else. It's just like any platform you or I interact with. If I'm like if I'm on Amazon and Amazon isn't meeting my expectations, if all of a sudden I have to now provide information that I wasn't providing before, or it's extra steps to do something, I'm gonna go, wait, what? This doesn't work for me, and I'm gonna find other sources. Or we want to go find a product, and the only way we can find that product is on their site. But their site, it's like, wait, they don't have my credit card information, they don't have my name, I have to put all this in, like that. I don't want to do that, right? Our expectations have risen so high. So we have to be able to meet people where they're at, and they're online, and we have to be able to meet or exceed, hopefully, their expectations, which means like we got to be able to provide things quickly, easily, without hassles, without friction, and give people what they want. And what they want is information. And what we have that ChatGPT or Bard or Alexa or Siri or Google doesn't have is that hyper local knowledge, of what's really going on in the local market.
Yeah.
What's the difference between living on this side of the street and that side of the street? What the traffic patterns are, that when someone want to think about for their commute or taking their kids to school, or all those things. So there's certainly things that we have that we can offer a value. We just have to be good at surfacing those things so the consumers can engage with them.
I love it, man. So that's a pretty good segue into going back to what we were talking about on the first episode, which was kind of your past and which you've been very successful in this industry, and a lot of it is based upon the lead gen strategies that you have executed and implemented. And so maybe give a little recap of kind of what you feel like has been the driving forces behind your success with your real estate teams when you were selling real estate. And then let's talk about that continued evolution of those lead gen strategies, and which ones do you feel like will continue to sustain in perpetuity, and which ones might start to fizzle and be replaced by X.
Yeah. Like my philosophy from the beginning, and it became a philosophy. When at the beginning it wasn't anything other than survival and the only thing I knew to do, which was to spend the majority of my day meeting people. And back then this was it's so weird to even say this. This is before the internet, right? So back then how did you meet people? There were two ways, either face to face or on the telephone. So all day long I was doing those two things. But philosophically that hasn't changed, right? It's still meeting people, like having conversations. When the market started to shift, what I was telling agents and brokers were, you need to increase the amount of conversations you're having on a daily basis. Now, those conversations, I don't care where those conversations are having or where they originated from, whether it was someone that you met online or someone you're conversing with online, or someone that at a social event, a live event, or on a door or in the phone, wherever it is, the number of conversations, the number of interactions we have needs to be increasing. Why does it need to be increasing? Because our opportunities are decreasing. Number one, there's fewer transactions happening in the market right now. Number two, there are more companies and more platforms meeting consumers before we get an opportunity to. And what's happening with those consumers is some of those companies and platforms like ours, which are partner with agents and teams, are delivering them and introducing them to agents and teams, which is a great thing for the agents and teams that take advantage of that. But there's other companies that are going, no, we're going to figure out how to monetize this consumer ourselves. And, we're going to use our own agents or our own means to be able to help them get what they want. So since there's fewer opportunities, we have to look at two things. How do we increase our opportunities? And then who are the platforms or the companies that we should be partnering with to subsidize or to augment what we're doing so that we can have more conversations? So look, the philosophy hasn't changed. I mean, Jeff, it's the same game. Get in front of as many people as you can, interact with as many people as you can, deliver as much value, be top of mind, and stay there until the time that they need help or that they have a need, so that you're the obvious person they think of or the obvious person they're able to communicate with easily to get their needs met.
It's interesting as you were saying that too, about even going back to the way that you did it, which I think a lot of this industry, which is, of the older variety, the average age is somewhere in the 50s for a real estate agent. A lot of them will hear you say what you said, which was, there was two ways to connect with people, face to face and over the phone. And people are thinking to themselves, God, I wish I could go back there. And it's funny though, the evolution of how that has shifted. And the reality is, and I'll use just phone as an example, is that, it's because companies took this medium of ways of contacting a consumer and abused it. And there was all of this mass calling. And then all of a sudden these do not call lists started coming out because we got annoyed. And it's funny, the correlation that I'm going to make here is that's what's happening with social media. Is social media was designed to be, connecting and staying in touch with people. And then at some point we decided that we thought it was a good idea to use it as a marketing tool, a spamming tool, and it's not. And now that's shifting. And Zuckerberg had to go to in front of Congress because of targeting, and people are seeing that their content's not working because nobody cares, because they just want authentic. They want French bulldogs and travel and cooking and real stuff. And so as we talk about that and you think about that, and then of course COVID exaggerated the lack of or fear of face-to-face. Our generation, the older generations, Gen X and baby boomers, still kind of long for that, because it's in our DNA. But you've got the millennials and Gen Z that's not in their DNA. And if anything, they're gravitating far and farther away, or shifting farther away from face to face. And so as you talk about the psychology of that, what's your opinion on that? And where do you see things going as it relates to lead gen strategies? Because, you could talk about the door knocking and the cold calling and all that kind of stuff. And gosh, my opinion is that stuff is quickly becoming a dinosaur. I don't think it's going to be removed tomorrow. It's still good complementary pieces of a strategy, but I don't know. What's your opinion?
It's definitely gonna get harder and harder. The technology now, like when we get a phone call from someone we don't know and it says spam risk on it, whenever I'm available, I answer those because I'd like to see what people are doing and how they're pitching things and what their approach is. But I'm a freak about that. No one
You're
else
a
wants
unicorn in that regard.
Yeah. But yeah, it's that some of those things are not going to yield the same results. But I think if we change the context to get away from what we like or what we don't like, or how it was versus how it will be, and focus on what's the outcome we're looking for. The outcome we're looking for is a connection. And like I have 3 millennials and a Gen X or Gen Z, I'm sorry. And I totally understand how they communicate, how they want to communicate, how they want to do things, everything else. I also understand that they still really like human connection, like them being with their friends and getting with their friends physically, being in the same place is something that they, it hasn't changed, right? That human, that piece that we all have of needing that human connection isn't going away.
No.
It does change some of our behaviors and some of the ways we want to do things. That might give us more time to do that. To be able to do more things digitally will keep going. So if we focus on, okay, how do we connect versus, well, let me say it differently. If we focus on connecting with people versus, oh, this is the way to do it or that's the way to do it, then we can think about, okay, hey, I'm fine. Hey, you want to connect on Instagram and message me back and forth? My wife will say, oh, why are you on social media so much? I said, I'm just people. That's how people are communicating with me. That's how I'm communicating with people. So it's, if I was on the phone, you'd be saying, hey, why are you on the phone so much?
Yeah.
Or if I was going to lunches every day, hey, why are you going to lunch so much? Right. That's how the communication and connection is happening. So yes, I agree with you. Some of the things we do, if you're going to keep doing those things and keep your blinders on and keep going down that road, the hill's going to get steeper and steeper for you. It's going to get more and more challenging. So I'm not saying don't do those things. I think my team still does those things, but we are doing more and more of the other things to be able to get to the point where we can have someone in a conversation. And I think that's another key distinction. When you or I are communicating and we're doing it, through DMs or SMS or Instagram or TikTok or any other way, any other platform, I don't know that that's really communicating. It's messaging. It's sometimes you're eliciting a response or you're getting a question or go question answered. But real communication happens in a dialogue. And in a dialogue like you and I are having right now, there's tonality, there's facial expressions, there's body language, there's emotion, and there's less chance of something being misinterpreted. In those other things where it's just a message or a transmission to someone, that could be received a lot of different ways. Right now, whatever I say to you, I have a good idea of how it's being received by you, by your response, by your facial expression, by your, what you say or don't say as a result of that. If I'm just sending you messages, I don't know what that's happening. So I think the way we need to think about it is when people are having a digital experience, they will decide if they want to continue that digital experience or to have a non-digital or analog or offline experience. And it's being connected in whatever way we need to be. So when they are ready to have a conversation, or when they say, hey, you know what, this is probably a deeper dialogue. Can we jump on a call? Or, I'd love to answer that, but I may not be able to communicate it effectively this way. Why don't you give me a ring? We have to be able to know when to shift from that digital experience to a non-digital experience. And as a consumer, like we've all had experiences. If I just had this the other night. I was on booking a flight using a travel credit that I had, and a thing came up and said, you can't do this online. You have to call one of our agents. And I was like, oh. I call, I sit on hold. Like I did not want to talk to a person. Now, there's also times when I'm online doing something and it's not intuitive or it's confusing or I don't know what I'm supposed to do and I want to talk to someone. And if I can't talk to them, that's equally as frustrated as when I have to talk to someone that I don't want to. So that's another thing that we have to be aware of and be really good at is understanding, when that human interaction needs to be there and when it doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
So I said a whole bunch of things as a response to your simple questions. Sorry.
No, that's you're the guest. I want to hear you talk. So I do want to ask you a follow-up to get a little bit more granular about what you mean, because here's how I articulated some of what you said, which is, tonality is very important at 1,000,000%. In fact, my wife and I were just talking this morning about how I took something that she texted out of this different context of what she meant, and kind of was pointing out, because it was the same, we were having the same conversation in person, and it's like, see how different this is. And so I take that to mean, as someone in the business of sales and selling myself, is that, all right, they're going to want to potentially meet me again, parasocially, without that interaction at first. So what's the best way to do that? I'm thinking to myself, so I need to be using more video to give myself an upper hand versus a text post, or a written email. I need to be using a bomb service and through my emails, and I need to be putting myself in front of a camera more often. Did I read that correctly? And is that what
Yeah,
you are teaching and imploring your team to do?
absolutely. Like at Ojo, we do that. Even at Ojo, we teach agents that we meet consumers on our site, movoto.com. These consumers see a property, they want a tour, they have a question, they have a general inquiry, they fill out a form. We've verified that they want to talk to an agent. We introduce them to an agent. What we tell the agents is when we introduce them to you, and most of the introductions are via live transfer on the phone. So we've taken that consumer that was online, took them offline, and now we're connecting them to you on the phone. It's like an arranged marriage or a blind date, right? And yeah, it's not even an arranged marriage yet. It's a blind date. And so, you want to make sure that blind date goes well. You want to make a good first impression, but they really don't know who you are. Like 5 minutes ago, they were on a site looking at a property. Now they're talking to you. So what we say is, as soon as you end that conversation, and by the way, don't end that conversation without setting an appointment, like for the next call or in-person meeting, or to show them the property. But as soon as you do, record a quick video and say, "Hey, Jeff, this is Chris. I'm the person you just talked to. I wanted to put a face with a name. Super excited to be able to help you and look forward to meeting you on Tuesday at the property at 123 Anywhere Street." And send them that video.
Yeah.
Bring in that human connection piece. Because if you don't, 10 minutes later, an hour later, several hours later, they may not remember the phone conversation, let alone you.
Yeah.
Right. And then when you call up to confirm the appointment, they're going, "What, who is this?" Oh, yeah. So you have to deepen that relationship in every way possible.
So what does the strategy look like right now with the with Chris Heller's real estate team that still exists in San Diego? What are the daily things that your team is doing to succeed in today's environment?
Yeah. Okay. So we we are trying to hit it from every angle, knowing that we have to meet people wherever they're at. So there's still the phone calls. There's still we do a lot of note writing. We leverage a company called audience.co, robotic handwritten note cards that don't look like robotic handwritten note cards. They have great graphics on them that people don't want to throw away. And we, that human touch, right? Online, my team had a social event last night. They went bowling, and was getting text messages and from the general manager, and he said, "Hey, that's awesome. Everyone showed up. Everyone's having a great time." I said, "Great. Why don't you take this as an opportunity and ask everyone 2 questions? Hey, what do you love about being on the team, and why did you join the team?" I said, "Then you'll have all this content for recruiting." So then they started sending me the videos, and it was awesome. But the team then being able to use photos, videos, to be able to post online, to be able to have connections. We do radio advertising in San Diego. And every week we get the radio spots, the 15 and 30-second spots of these local celebrities and hosts who are talking about our real estate team. And they get sent to us. And then our admin on the team sent those to everyone on the team and just forwarded them to them. And I messaged the leaders and said, "Hey, do me a favor. Don't just forward things without saying, hey, here's why we're forwarding to you. Here's how you could use it. Here's how you should use it." So I responded with an follow-up email saying, "Hey, share how you're going to use these. I want to hear the best ideas, most creative." And then all the team members started responding back. "Hey, every time I talk to a new prospect, when I follow up with them or send a text message, I include a link to one of these so they can say, 'Hey, looking forward to helping you. We have a lot of happy clients, but it's not just happy clients who think we're a great agent for the job. It's also so-and-so. Here, listen to what she has to say.'" So, using all those things to be able to communicate with people in all the different platforms, and in a variety of ways, because you never know what's going to resonate. You never know what's going to make that connection. But you want to keep trying those things. And then when you start to see results and get results, then that tells you where you need to go deeper or go farther.
I love it. I love it. What would you say is, if you had to say, what are some of the maybe 2 or 3 of the top things that you find are producing the best results right now?
I'm going to, I'm thinking about how I want to answer it. So we interact with, we have over 300 top teams and adding more every day on Ojo that we partner very deeply with, where we give exclusive introductions to and a large volume of introductions. And so we work very closely with these teams. We're in constant communication with them. And what we see working is, and these are people that were online and that raised their hand or that wanted some information. So I'll talk about what's working after that, and then I'll talk about what's working to get that to happen. So what's working after that is, again, immediately, very quickly connecting with that consumer and setting an appointment, not asking them a bunch of questions, not trying to pre-qualify them. You have to earn the right. You have to have a level of rapport and trust before me as a consumer is going to start giving you information when I just met you, right? I'm not going to, if I want to see a home or I'm interested in an area or I'm considering something, don't start asking me about, whether I'm paying cash or financing, or if I talk to a lender, or do I have a down payment, or those things. Like, hey, because if you're going to create a bunch of gates for me to have to go through or a bunch of friction, I'm going to get the information somewhere else. And our interaction is going to end very quickly. So it's, hey, give me what I want. I want the easy button. I want the quick solution. Give that to me. Now, as you give that to me, you're going to then have an opportunity to send me a video and introduce me and put a face with a name. You're going to be able to, meet me at the property or meet at Starbucks to talk about, what it would look like if we were to, go from being a renter to a buyer. And then there's lots of opportunities to do that, but it's getting that, giving them what they want, giving it what they want quickly, and then getting that appointment for that Zoom meeting or that in-person meeting. So that's once you've come in contact with someone. Prior to that, the question is, how do you come in contact with them? As an agent, if you have listings, all your listings are online. And then the question is, okay, how do you get the inquiries from those properties? You can partner with companies like ours or other companies that will introduce you to those consumers. Or that's, what are you doing online that would be of interest to them? Posting content and not just random content. You need to be mindful and strategic about what you're doing. Like the agents I see that are most successful are posting interesting things about their communities and about the places where they live and do business, and in the restaurants that me as someone who's considering relocating or making a move would find valuable, right? Stuff that, if it's stuff that I can find on Zillow or stuff I can find on Google, you giving me that same content isn't of any value, right? I'm not going to go to your website to look at a property. I'm going to go to the sites I always go to, Movoto or Zillow or Redfin or wherever it is I go, or Google it and click on one of the ones that pop up. But if you're giving me content that I can't get in those places, then I'm going to engage with it. I'm going to find it interesting. I'm going to find it engaging, and I'm going to start to interact. And it's like what we do online is not that different than what we do offline. I mentioned radio advertising. I have no idea who's listening to the radio, who's listening to our ad, who's and what they're doing with that information they're hearing. What happens most of the time is they don't have a real estate need at that moment. Yes, occasionally that happens, and that's great. But most of the time, it's several months later or several years later. And they go, hey, yeah, we want to talk to you about selling our house. Great. How did you hear from us? Oh, I've heard you on the radio for years. The same thing will happen online if we're providing good content. When they reach out to you and say, hey, I have a question, or I'm wondering if you could help with this type of property. Yeah, sure. Why, may I tell, hey, how do you reach us? Oh, I've been watching your stuff online for months, and it's been really interesting and really helpful. Those are the things that are working, and those are the things that we need to keep doing more of and better of. But it's got to be, it's not just like when this started happening, and I know, Jeff, you saw this, agents have started posting all kinds of things and all sorts of things and still do all sorts of random things. And at least they're making an attempt, at least they're being seen, but that's not going to get the job done. It has to be really good and valuable content. It's just like our follow-ups. When you're following up with someone, you have to deliver something of value.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's just you're just bothering someone with, hey, I'm just checking in.
Mhm.
And that's not of value.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking about this morning in the shower, ironically, and the thought was I was having a conversation yesterday with one of my more stubborn loan officers, in this case, not a real estate agent, but all the same, basically.
Yep.
And it's somebody who doesn't really heed any of my advice, even though obviously I've shown a lot of results with social. And she subscribes to a service that helps create videos that are very professional, which is great. They look great, but we all know that they just don't get a lot of engagement. And I had mentioned that to her yesterday, saying, I love it, they're great, they're professional, but they're just not going to move the needle much. And she's like, well, I disagree. They create conversations with my people. And I just kind of let it go there. But as I thought more about it, I was thinking to myself, any agent who is checking a box and essentially they're a spammer, essentially they're going on to social just to talk about their business, which is not what consumers are actually wanting to consume. You're really just using it as a CRM, because the reality is it will work, but in a much smaller scale, because yes, you still will probably be seen by your very inner sphere, but that content is not going to expand your sphere. That's where the educational stuff, the value-based stuff is, the stuff that you don't feel like is moving the needle. But like you said, over time, oh, I saw you. Oh, I'm always seeing you. And I think that's the thing that a lot of, real estate professionals just don't understand, that, okay, yeah, you can go do a Monday market update, but it's only going to get seen by 5 or 10 people, literally, out of your 5,000 person audience. And maybe it will create a conversation. It's just going to have a lot smaller impact than what you could do if you employed more of a niche based strategy. I kind of want to go ahead. Yeah.
And there's examples of that. When I have conversations with my kids, or we're all together, like let's say we're planning Thanksgiving or a meal, and I'll hear them say, oh yeah, I saw an awesome recipe on so and so, and they all know like who they follow, and they follow them because it's good, interesting content or stuff that is interesting. And then they're getting referrals, or they're saying, oh, you need to follow them, or you need to check them out. That happens all the time. I have people doing that. Oh, you need to follow this guy. I had a conversation this morning, and people are referring that way, just like we used to refer, in the analog world. So I totally agree with you. I think it's you either have to be doing that, or you have to be building your database to where you're posting that content to, on a daily basis, right? And if you can do both, you're more chances of winning.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk more about Ojo specifically. You've brought it up casually, but we really haven't gone deep in it. Obviously, it's a very powerful platform, and you've mentioned Movoto. Tell us more about Ojo and what it does, and the connection to Movoto, and kind of how this all works.
Yeah. So Movoto, it's interesting. Movoto is the biggest portal that no one's ever heard of. We are the 5th largest portal in the country. We're the largest privately owned portal. All the other ones are publicly owned, right? And we have millions and millions of consumers that go there. So if you Google your address or a property that you're looking at, you're going to see sites show up, and Movoto is going to be on that first page along with the others the majority of the time. I think what happens on Movoto that may not happen as much on other sites is our site's very simple. It's very straightforward. And if someone wants information, it's very easy to say, here's what to do to get the information. And we primarily have 3 calls to action. Hey, I want to see this property. I have a question on this property, or it's like a general inquiry. When that happens, we do immediately call them. And we have a call center that's very efficient, very effective. And we say, hey, Jeff, notice that you asked for some information on the property 123 Anywhere Street. How can we help you? Well, I bought this property and I don't like the photos you have on there. Great, we can connect you with the agent that can help you fix that. Or that's it. Yeah, I'd like to see this property. Great. Are you under contract or working with an agent right now that can show you the property? No, we're not. Right. Would you like us to connect you to a top local expert who could help you? Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, do I have your permission to get them on the line right now? Yes. We notify the agents that we partner with. They get they click the SMS to say, yes, I want to talk to them. And then we have a live conversation with the 3 people, make the introduction, and let the agent take it from there. We have a concierge team that stays in communication with that consumer and says, hey, we introduced you to Jeff 4 or 5 days ago. Just want to check in. Are you getting everything you need? Yeah, Jeff's great. Or we're meeting this weekend. Or you know what? He was going to follow up with me with some properties and we haven't heard from him. No problem. We'll ping him and remind him. Hey, Jeff, concierge team contacts you, 4 or 5 days later. Hey, Jeff, we introduced you to the Smiths. Do you think you're going to be able to help them? Yeah, I do. I think I can help them. I think they're realistic. I think they're motivated. Great. If there's anything you need, if you can't get a hold of them, let us know. We'll be happy to help. And we help facilitate those relationships so that the agents can build their business through additional, introductions to buyers and sellers. That's the high level.
Couple questions. So I
Yep.
went there as you were talking, and I got a pop up immediately for scheduling a free planning session, and it lets me get back to the site. So a couple questions. How does this compare to Zillow? I mean, that's what everybody knows. And why is it different? And why is it not the evil empire?
Yeah, great question. So for anyone who's been listening thus far, they know that that I'm an agent at heart. I still have an agent business. I've had a team for 34 years. I've got licensed 40 years ago. Yes, we're a technology company. We have a lot of smart people that we're not in real estate, but the people who do these programs, we're all agents. Myself, Jeremiah Taylor, who's our chief real estate officer, who has a real estate team in Tucson. We are advocates for real estate agents. We don't have a master plan to build our own, our own teams to do these things or to take agents out of the picture. We are every day looking at and working on things to help the agents and the teams that we partner with be more successful. Because we know the more that we can help them, the more successful we are. Look, we're having you on. We do a master class every month, and you were gracious enough to do one for us that's coming up. We provide those free of charge, and we've had the best people in the industry do these for our teams. It's just to provide value to them, to help them. The trainings we do, that sure, it helps them with the people we introduce them, but it helps them with every other aspect of their business. So it's just a different mindset, and we come from a different place. I'm not saying it's where the others come from is a bad place. It's just they don't have the agent DNA running through the veins of everything that they do, as we do. So that's one big difference. The other is we truly take a partner mentality, versus a vendor, relationship or a customer, relationship. If you're treating the agents as your customers and there's a problem, what do customers do? They complain. And then what does the company do? They try to fix the complaint or, remedy it or satisfy them or whatever. When you're partners, if there's an issue, you work together. Say, hey, this is, hey, Jeff, we're partners. This isn't working. What can we do? So we we have, in fact, we're just launching multiple advisory councils with teams and agents so that we can work together and say, hey, here's what we're doing, and here's our process. If you guys see things that aren't working or want us to do differently, let us know, and let's talk about how we can do those things. So it's we just come from I think a different place, and that partnership mentality, I think, is felt by the people that we are doing business with every day.
I'll say it for you. Zillow is trying to take your job. Movoto is trying to make you better at your job.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it. So
you should have just answered the question.
well, I mean, I'm the one who says things bluntly, because most of my guests want to tiptoe the line, and I understand why. So I just, throw it on the table. So now that's Movoto, but where does Ojo come into play?
So Ojo is the company that that owns Movoto. All the engineers, the product people, our success manager team. We all, the company we work for and get paid by, and that I'm the president of is Ojo Labs, and Movoto is our vehicle for meeting consumers at scale, and then being able to introduce them to service providers like real estate agents and loan officers and the such.
So if I'm an agent, why would I want to potentially sign up for this?
Well, it goes back to something that we talked about earlier in this conversation. It's incumbent upon agents and teams that want to grow to be meeting people at a faster pace than they've ever met before, and to have more conversations they've ever had. So agents should be doing the things that we've been talking about, but they also should be looking for platforms and companies to be able to partner with that can also introduce them to consumers. Because whether I, as an agent, am spending lots of time, money, and energy to meet people, or I'm paying a company a success fee for introducing me to something, the economics probably are very, very similar, if not identical. But it's another way for me to be introducing people. And every person that we introduce you to, if we introduce you to a buyer or seller and you're able to help them transact, yes, we're going to share in the success of that. But you're also now have a client for life if you do the things that cause people to be clients for life. And the future business, the referrals you get from them, are yours because of that new introduction. So we just help facilitate more introductions for agents, which is what every agent wants, right? Every agent wants to meet more buyers and sellers. Not all of them want to pick up the phone and call. Not all of them want to, create videos and have a schedule to where they're posting those and doing it effectively. Yes, they should be doing that, and we hope they are. And I think more and more people are doing all the things we've talked about and that you train people to do. But we also should be looking for where else we can augment our businesses with relationships or with partnerships that are going to bring us more consumers to interact with.
Is it like Zillow, where it's very territorial, and if I've already missed out on the opportunity to own a zip code, I can't get in?
Yes and no. So we have two main programs. We have what we call Ojo Pro Plus, which is only for select top teams. And those are top teams and a few teams in each market. If it's a smaller market, we might only have one team that we partner with. A large market, we might have 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that we partner with. And when those spots are filled up, they're filled up. So if you were to say, hey, I have a team in Phoenix, I'd like to be an Ojo Pro Plus team, and say, hey, we'd love to have you, we'll put you on our wait list. If you said, hey, I have a top team, what's an area that I know we have availability right now? Oklahoma City. If we have, hey, I have a top team in Oklahoma City, I like to talk about that. If you fit the criteria, and the criteria we look for is, are they truly a top team? Like, do they have systems and processes? Is everyone on the team working off the same CRM? Do they have accountability? Do they understand online, how to handle online consumers? Do they cover the whole marketplace, right? Because consumers will be looking all over. So those are the things we look for. So that's our team product, Ojo Pro Plus. Then we have Ojo Pro, which is just for top agents. And that too is limited because we have a finite amount of consumers that we interact with, and a finite amount of consumers that we can make introductions to. So that being said, yeah, some areas there's nothing available. I know San Diego, I know there's nothing available, but in many other parts of the country, we have a lot of availability. And so people should definitely, come and check us out. You can message me on any social media platform, or go to our site, ojo.com, and click on the agent tab and find out about our different programs.
I was just going to ask you, so the best way to find out if a market is available and to learn more would just be to DM you, or what is the best way to connect with you?
It really is, because then I can steer someone in the right direction very quickly and just say, hey, do you run a team, or are you a solo agent? I'm a solo agent. Great. Let me give you the link to fill out your information, and then if there's availability, we'll tell you, and if not, we'll tell you. Oh, I run a top team. Great. What market are you in? I don't know if we have availability, but here, fill out your information on this. Our team will reach out with all the details.
So the next question I'm going to have is the Lake of the Ozarks available? Because I'm building a real estate team there with a partner. So I guess we're going to have to talk offline. And if you're listening to this and you happen to be at the lake, back off. Chris, it's been a pleasure. We will definitely, we're going to stay in touch. Obviously, I'll be on your platform here coming up. You've already, kind of mentioned it. What would you say if you had to choose your preferred medium for someone to message you? What is it?
Yeah, Facebook or Instagram.
Okay.
Actually, what? Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. It doesn't, any of them. It doesn't matter. I get the notifications. So.
And your name on those platforms is?
Yeah. On Facebook, it's just my name. Instagram, I think it's Chris Heller,
CEO.
CEO. Yeah. And same on LinkedIn.
Got it. Perfect. Chris, I love this, man. I've enjoyed this very much. I look forward to continuing to talk and stay in touch. And I know I'll be on your platform. I'm going to have you on another one of our platforms in the fall, and let's continue to collaborate, man. If you're our audience and you're listening to this, I'm telling you, go find your way into Chris's spider web. It's a valuable spider web. Even if you're not in the market to add, a platform like Gojo or Movoto to your arsenal, you continue to learn. Like you said, you're putting on these webinars with some very, very high level people. How I tricked you guys, I don't know, but what you guys are doing is amazing. What you've done for the industry is amazing, and just thank you for being awesome.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me on. Be happy to be on anytime. And look, I love what you do. I love the messages and what you're teaching agents and helping them, evolve so that they can continue to stay relevant. So thanks for doing that.
Thank you, man. Take care.
Yep.
LabCoatAgents Podcast.